Greetings, I'm Bairnt and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be continuing our playthrough of League of Dungeoneers. That's right, we're continuing the playthrough. For those of you that are catching this video over at the One Stop Co-op Shop, we did a quick character creation video over on my channel, Meet Me at the Table. If you're interested in seeing how the characters for League of Dungeoneers are created, the link to my channel is in the description of this video. But here we are going to do the first mission in a small campaign for League of Dungeoneers. There are multiple campaigns built into this book along with side quests. This is an awesome sandbox experience when it comes to dungeon delving, very old school type world. I'm really excited to show you how this game plays out. If you're interested in seeing more League of Dungeoneers content after this video, I'll be continuing the playthrough over on my channel, Meet Me at the Table. You can see more there. Also, Daniel over at the Dungeon Dive has done a fantastic video series on League of Dungeoneers, and William's done a cool review on it, so check those out. I'll put a link to both of those in the description of this video as well. Let's dig into League of Dungeoneers, and if you're excited to do that, then I need you to meet me at the table. The first mission is called First Blood. This is the introductory quest. The heroes have traveled for days and are finally nearing their destination in the village. After so long on the road, the idea of sleeping in a real bed at an inn is alluring. With the sun setting, you realize you must spend one more night out in the open. You find a suitable spot and make camp. You take turns to keep watch, and as usual, nothing much happens during the night. Just before dawn, though, the hero on watch is suddenly snapped into high alert by the faint sound of stealthy footsteps. Realizing the potential peril, he quickly tries to wake the rest of the party. As they fumble to rise, a gang of bandits charge out of the darkness. So this will be an introductory quest that'll kind of show you how the gameplay works in a small setting. We're going to be moving into the setup of this, where we are going to take our party, and they have been attacked by 3 bandits and 1 bandit leader. We're going to be setting up our enemies, which are going to be a bandit leader equipped with a longsword and a shield, and is going to have 1 armor. Our 2 bandits are also going to be armed with short swords, have no armor, and there's 1 bandit that's going to have a short bow and a dagger that also has no armor. There's a lot of components to this game. One of the things they do include are cards for all of the enemies that you could possibly run into, and they have specific smaller cards to help you equip the monsters. They're not as robust as all the things that you would use for creating your own player characters. It just gives you the basics of what you need for each of the enemies. Now we're going to be playing against a bandit leader and the bandits. And the game also doesn't come with these dice or these miniatures. The way it works, it does come with a set of dice, but it doesn't come with the miniatures. They're all standees, but this is a very sandbox game where you're able to use a lot of your own components if you wish to create an experience that you're interested in creating, which is really cool. So I've gone ahead and used some of miniatures from other games that I have. You may recognize these from Bard Song. We're going to be looking at our particular enemies. We have a bandit leader here. He is humanoid. Now all of these acronyms or abbreviations, I apologize, I can tell you what they are, and we'll see how they play out during the game. The first one is combat skill. He has to roll lower than that and a melee range to hit. Range combat skills right here, range skill. Damage, this is not the damage they do. This is the damage that's going to be on top of whatever their weapon is that they have. Next, they have resolve. If they ever have to take a resolve against any type of hit that has to do with like fear or anything like that, they would be rolling against this. There's a -10 that we take to hit this monster. There's a natural armor of 1 and a movement of 4. This thing does have a dex of 35 in case we have to deal with that. There is no special rules, but down here it does tell us that we're going to be gaining T2 on the treasure table if we defeat this enemy and we decide to search and rob this guy after he's dead. And we also are going to gain experience points, and you are going to calculate these experience points as you go, because your characters will level up and gain new spells, abilities, and things of that nature if they decide to go to town and train. There's a huge open world map that I will show you later after we complete this initial fight here and move into our next quest. The bandit leader has 16 health, so we're going to have to do 16 health to this. On top of what is on this card, he also has this longsword that is going to do a d12 points of damage. And then we're going to also add the extra +1. So this guy's a pretty formidable foe. On top of that, it did tell us he has 1 armor, and that's on top of everything you get from the actual card. So he's actually rocking 2 armor right now. So that is our bandit leader, and he is going to be signified with this miniature right here from Bard Song. He's going to keep him just like that. Next, we have our 3 bandits that are going to be fighting us as well. And we do have a party of 4 characters that is mandatory, whether they are 4 fully fleshed out PC characters, or if you decide to use any of the mercenaries, you can take them along as well. Our bandits right here are not as good as our bandit leader. They only have a 50 combat skill, a 35 range skill, 45 resolve, no extra damage, 4 movement, -5 to hit, and a dex of 30. There's no special rules. Get some experience points, 12 gold, and their roll for their treasure table is a different treasure table. I've put out some dice to signify their hit points. Again, there's multiple ways to go about doing this. You could use tokens, you could use whatever you want to make sure you keep track of them. I'm going to use the dice, and if I'm even hitting some of these guys out here, I might put the dice right next to them so I can remember which one is which when it comes to these 2 particular characters here. Now, if I was smart, I'd use 2 separate miniatures, but you know, sometimes I'm not that smart. Before we put our characters on the board, I do want to show you who they are in case you did miss the character creation video or just want to know quickly what's going on. We have Kit Lowe, it's a halfling rogue, and these are the statistics they have, and these are the skills they're going to be rolling on. It's very similar to what you just saw for the bandit leader, for example, 60 combat skill, 60 range, there's a dodge skill, there's a pick lock skill, things of this nature that go along with the character, and everybody has certain skills like forging, perception, and these combat skills, range skills, and dodge, but some other people do have things that are going to be specific to them, and you'll see those in some of the other characters. They all have a weapon, and they do have some armor. Now, one thing I do want to mention for those that did watch my character creation video, when I rolled up the character, I rolled all these as one roll and then decided to place them where I wanted to. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to roll these all individually, and then on top of that, you can then add 15 points to some of the skills to hopefully boost the ones you really want if you would have had a bad roll on them. Also, on top of that, when you do add those 15 points, you can only add a maximum of 10 to the roll that you had from the original stat. I hope that makes sense. Every character does get equipment. Some comes with the character, some you have to purchase, and after you add everything up, you do have to put your encumbrance down here, and that's another thing I did in the character creation video I want to make sure people understand is, for example, our padded jacket covers both of these slots. It is technically considered only one set of encumbrance though. Unfortunately, the padded cap and the padded pants are different from that, and they're a separate purchase, so those have their own encumbrance rules. I shouldn't say rules, I should say numbers. So 1 for the padded cap and 4 for the pants. Characters do come with their own skills, and he in particular comes with a set of 10 lockpicks since he's a rogue. And the cool thing is down here they have backgrounds, and every one of them is different. For example, this one comes from poverty, so he has his own special rules and a special quest he's trying to perform during the game to try to get himself an extra 2,000 experience points, but of course has to bring back 1,000 gold to the family. I'm going to move a little bit faster on our next characters. This is Exploding Bob. He is an alchemist, and like I said, some people have specific skills that they have. He has an alchemy skill, and it is at 60 right now. He does have some armor and some weapons, so if he wants to fight like that, he can. Otherwise, he does have down here in his quick slots, which are located on his belt, all these different potions that he can use. He has an acidic bomb, a potion of restoration that can heal people, and a potion of fire breathing. So if he wanted to bring those out and use them, he certainly can during the fight. A cool thing about the alchemist is he's able to get components and make potions based on things that he has learned over the time. He also has some abilities here. He is an elf, so he has a couple things that go along with him. On top of that, his class gives him a resistance to poison. He also has a background where he is attempting to purchase a home as he continues through this adventure. Before we look at the last two, I want to put our heroes down. First, we have our rogue. He is right here. This is going to be our rogue. It's a miniature from Folklore, but it looks very roguey, and he's going to go right there. there. And then we have our alchemist, who is also from it's also from Folklore of the Affliction. He's in Folklore of the Affliction, he might not be a good guy, so he might be a little bit more dastardly looking than a hero would look, but he's going to be placed there. It does say in the setup that we're supposed to use the Wilderness Outdoor tile, which I have down here, and we can use tile or tiles. I'm just going to use one tile, but since this is very a sandboxy type game, you can choose to add even more tiles just to make it a bigger and larger combat area. On top of that, it does tell me I'm supposed to put the characters in the middle of the board, but there's a campground here. They're going to be standing around the fire, so I'm going to be placing them all around the fire. And now we've got 2 out. Let's look at our last 2 characters. The last 2 characters we have are Rock Hightower, a human warrior priest. He is all kind of kitted up to hopefully hold the front line the best he can. I've given him a decent combat skill. That's my goal here. He actually has a 50 combat skill, which hopefully should hold up pretty good. He's got equipment and everything, just like you see. He does use battle prayers, which is going to be a stat right here that are located right up here. He starts with 2 first level prayers, and we'll be able to use those. Now, the game does come with these handy dandy cards that you can use to keep track of what prayers you have, and we have the Power of the Gods and Mythia's Ward. There's a lot of writing on here. Just know that this is going to help out our magic user. Our wizard coming out here is going to get +10 to arcane arts, and this one is going to be able to help the priest regain lost hit points at the start of his activation. Those are his 2 battle prayers that he has. He does have a few extra skills here as well, and he's got a background about proving his worth. He has to kill a 450 XP enemy and then return to a town to claim the armor of his father. That is Rock Hightower. Moving into our last character is Arceus. He is a elven wizard, which is pretty cool. He's got an arcane stat of 69. He actually rolled the highest stat of any of my characters when it came to an actual ability that's going to help him out really well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, of course, remember, I could even add another 10 if I have this prayer going, and I'll show you how prayers work during our playthrough, but they are something that once started can last through an entire battle. So he could have up to 79 wizard arcane power, and you're always going to be trying to roll lower than these numbers in order to have things happen. You don't want high numbers. He's got some very minimal items here because after all, he is a wizard. All of his stuff is going to come from his spells, which he starts with a amount of spell points equal to, I believe it was his wisdom stat. I think he has a total of 59, I think is what he has. I'll have to completely clarify that when I look into it. But we do have 3 spells. He has Flare, Light Healing, and Hand of Death. Yes, you heard it right, a wizard with a healing spell. And they do come with, again, cards that are going to help us out. Hand of Death is an attack spell that I have to touch with. Flare is a ranged combat attack. Actually, I don't even think you don't even have to attack. I think it's just an auto hit, very similar to like a magic missile spell. And Healing Hand, of course, will try to help our friends when we have, we have Light Healing. I'll have to grab that card. I grabbed the wrong card. He has some abilities here. He's got Wise, which did give him the +5 to Wisdom. I thought that'd be great. He has some Elven parts here, and then he has Hate Brigands or Bandits, and that just happened to be from his background here. He has Revenge. He hates bandits and backgrounds or brigands, and for every 5 that he's able to do the killing blow to, he's going to get an extra 250 experience. I like the way that this game not only gets you going into quests and campaigns and things of that nature, but it also has little side quests and story moments for actual characters you're creating. I think that's a really cool system. So we do need to place our last 2 people. We're going to place down our wizard. He is right here. This is actually from Hero Forge. This is my son's wizard that I painted up for him. He's going to be placed right here. This is his character for Dungeons and Dragons. And then I've got a warrior priest, which is the one you've seen from Folklore. We're going to place him right down here. We have all 4 of our characters kind of hanging around the campfire, and now we're going to have to place out our brigands. Continuing the setup after we have everything ready to go here, it does say use the Wilderness Outdoor tiles. I know we're only using 1 tile, and I think I'm going to switch that up because if we look at how they're supposed to be placed, it's not going to work very well for just 1 tile. I was really hoping it would, so you could just see a quick battle, but I think instead I'm going to show exactly how this whole thing would play out on this larger map. I think it'll be pretty cool. So we're going to grab the open ground tiles and place the heroes in the center. So instead of being in that neat little camp, we're just going to place them in the center of the board, just like it says. And then we're going to randomize the board edge, and we're going to place each bandit approaching from there based on a D10 from the squares from the edge. Then we're going to be placing 2 extra initiative tokens, and I'll show you what those are when we get to that part. On the first turn, as they surprise the sleeping heroes, and due to the darkness, no one can see or shoot farther than 10 squares, which is another reason I'm going to be using more than just the one tile. And this, in the scenario, the die for it is not used, the scenario die itself, which we'll see in future missions, which is normally used when you're inside dungeons to represent the amount of threat that's growing inside the dungeon as you're moving around. You're going to be rolling the scenario die, and if it reaches a certain number, things could happen based on rolling threat dice to make the scenario die happen. It's a really cool system, and I will show you that as we do some dungeon delves. This is now the battle map we're going to be using. This is like our skirmish map that we're going to fight against these bandits on. I've made it a little bit bigger. I've grabbed just 4 of the wilderness tiles. There are other ones I could have grabbed, but these are the ones we're going to use just because they're there. And now we have to place out the bad guys. We're supposed to randomly decide what side they come in on. So I do have a D4, and you are going to use all different types of dice in this game. So we're going to roll a D4. This is number 1, and number 2 is over there. We got a 2, so the first one's going to come out from over there. Then there's 20 lines across the side there. So I'm just going to roll a D20 and see where it comes out. Number 12, so it's going to come out over in that area. Then I'm going to roll a D10 to see how close it got to our camp. It got a 5. This is just going to be one of our bandits. So if we go over here, this is going to be 10, 11, 12. 11, 12 right there, and then we're going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's on a stump. I'm just going to move him up 1 more just so he's not on that stump, though it's up to you how you want to deal with all this. This, of course, is supposed to be more of like hindering terrain and things that are going to obscure your movement and your vision and things of that nature, but we're just going to play that he's off that. That makes things a lot easier. Now I'm going to roll for the rest of them. You don't have to see how that's going to go. I'm just going to roll them out and we'll put them on the board. And with our miniatures placed, we got a couple over there and we got a couple over here. The bandit captain really snuck up really far on us. He's really red. He must be the one we heard in the bushes. I'm not going to be this panned out when we do our playthrough. I will be panning in so you can see where we're moving and how we're dealing with everything around us. But this is the overall board and where everybody is. Now that our enemies are placed out on the board, it's time to get our initiative bag up and running. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab 1 chip that are white for each of our heroes. So we have 4 chips for our heroes. We're going to put them into this handy dandy little bag here, just like that. Then we're going to take 4 chips for our enemies, which are located right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to take all 4 of those and shove them in the bag as well. The scenario itself told us to put 2 more in because they were able to surprise us. We're going to take 2 more of their chips in there, and we have an ability on our elves called Keen Hearing. Now we do have 2 elves, but from what I understand, you do not benefit from multiple sources of the same ability. So since we both have Keen Hearing and allows us to be able to put a chip into this bag extra for only the first turn, we're going to place 1 more chip in there. Also, during that surprise round, those 2 chips that are in here from the bandits, they will be removed when moving into the second round because they no longer are able to surprise us. With our bag all set up, we're going to give it a good old truffle mixer here, I guess. And we're going to grab a chip out of here and see who gets to go first. We have drawn a black chip, so our enemies are going to activate first. Whenever an enemy activates, you're going to look at this particular card here. There are cards for all the different ways things are going to activate, so it's really nice. There's some great handouts. There are a lot of tables and a lot of little rules that you have to follow, but they have good supplements to be able to get right to it instead of having to jump back and forth from the rule book. So it says here, enemy activation. The first person that would activate is anybody that is a magic user or an enemy armed with a ranged weapon. And we do have 1 bandit that has a short bow, so he is going to activate first. And to see what he does, he also has a card here that shows humanoid with a missile weapon. So this is his order of operations. And again, you're going to start at the top and go down until you meet one of the requirements. If within 2 spaces of a hero, move up to your movement squares away but remain in line of sight and reload at the same time. That is not going to apply because he's farther away than 2 spaces. Reload missile weapon, he doesn't need to. His bow is already loaded. It's going to start the game loaded. And there are some tokens here that are going to help us with remembering which part of which is, if it's loaded or not. And then our next one is move up to M spaces to get into position that increases its odds to hit, including climbing objects. Skip this rule if the rule above was performed this turn. Then we're going to reload at the same time. Again, it's already loaded, but this is the thing we are going to do. We're going to move up to those spaces in order to be able to get our most optimal shot. Our bandit's movement is 4, so it's going to move and climb over this, which is going to double its amount of movement it takes to that. So it's going to be 1, 2 to climb up down to here, then 3 down to here, and now it is no longer impeded. Actually, it'd probably be not impeded up there because it's on top of it. So it's actually standing on top of the log. That is good enough. And remember, in this scenario, it is dark, so you can't fire more than 10 spaces away, but he is not. He is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from our priest here, and I believe that's going to be who he attacks, but we're going to again go back to our card and check it out. Coming back to the card, we're going to see that the next thing here is it is going to attack. So we're going to roll 2d6. Basically how this game works is there are a lot of rolls you're going to make, and they tell you a lot of times just to roll them at the same time to make things go a lot easier. So I have 2d6s. The reason I have that is the first set of d6 is going to tell me whether or not it is going to do this or this, which is use skill, special trait, or if I don't have any, I just attack. If I get a 1 through 4, then I'm going to potentially do one of these 2 actions, which then I'll roll another d6, which will be this one, and I'll either get he'll either aim or he will shoot. So let's go roll those dice. Let's see what he's going to do. We'll roll both the dice up. He got a 4. So he is going to do the first part of this card, which is going to have a chance at either aiming or he's going to shoot. And he rolled a 5 for the second number, so he is going to shoot. So if we look at our bandit's range skill, it is a 35. So we're going to try to roll under a 35 to hit my warrior priest. So we'll roll up our D100s and see what we get. We got a total of 96, so our bandit has missed. Completing the action, we are going to take the loaded token and flip it over to the unloaded side. You can either leave it here by this character, or you can put it out on the board right on top of the character, right next to it where you can see it so you know what's going on. We only have one ranged character in this fight, so I'm just going to place it next to this card. With that person gone, we're going to reach into our little bag of tricks here and see what we pull out. We have pulled out one of our activations. That's fantastic. So now we can choose which one of us wants to activate. Again, this game comes with a huge reference card here that can tell us everything we need to know about combat and psychology and loot during the game. We're not going to worry about fear tests right now. That's not going to be part of the deal. But here are the actions we can perform. There are a ton of them. First, of course, there is a move where we can move our full movement, which is going to cost us 1 action point. You get 2 action points a turn unless there is something that has changed based on your class, character abilities, level, things of that nature. There could be multiple ways that might be able to get you an extra action point. Models decide to move if on their second action only move half their speed. So for example, if we had 4 speed, we could move 4 on our first action point. Our second action point though, we could only move 2. The next one we could do is we could attempt to open a door. There are a lot of rules for the door opening thing, and you'll probably see that in the next playthrough when we move into a dungeon. The next one is picking a lock, same type of deal. We'll see that during the dungeon. And then we could break down a door. There's no doors here, but notice there are a lot of things that have to do with interacting with dungeon things in the game as well, which is pretty sweet. Now we move on to our standard attack, which is going to cost us 1 action point. Another thing we could do is a power attack, which is going to cost us 2 action points. And that will give us a plus 20% bonus to our combat skill. But if you notice here, it does say I cannot dodge or parry next turn, and enemies get plus 10 combat skill against that hero until they go again. Enemies using this power lose their defense ability. Remember, all of our enemies do have a to-hit penalty here, like of this bandit of -5. They would lose that if you told them, or I shouldn't say you, if the dice told them to do a power attack. Next, we could shove. We could attempt to shove somebody that's a smaller or same size as us, and that's going to be a dex check along with your potential damage bonus times 10 if you have any. None of my characters do. Next, we have a charge attack. In order to charge, I must start at least 2 spaces away from them and then move up to my maximum movement to the target and strike. If successful, the target is moved back 1 space and the attacker may follow. Now, there is a small discrepancy in the rules. It says I have to be 1 square, but in this handout it says 2. I'm going to go with the handout just because it's easier to reference than the book, and we're just going to go by what's on here. When you do make the charge attack, you do get an extra 10 points towards your combat skill, but you do have to move in a straight line, and it doesn't necessarily have to be orthogonal. It can be in a diagonal, but it has to be a direct diagonal. You can't be moving kind of in a snake pattern or anything to do a charge. You have to run as fast as you can. You have to be moving straight. That's the deal. Next, we have our aim. We're not going to be doing that, but some of the enemies might, and that'll just give you an extra 10 points to your ranged combat skill when you use the aim next time you use an attack. And of course, you can change gear. which can be from your quick slot. And even with that, you may be able to change gear with other players within the 4 squares, but both of you will have to use 1 AP point to do it. So for example, I could toss a healing potion over to a friend of mine as long as there's nobody else in the way that I'd be able to get to him, and that person could drink the potion. So there are some cool things you can do. Our first character to activate is going to be, I'm going to use Exploding Bob. I've got a plan. He's going to move over to here with his movement, and then for his second action, he's going to make a ranged attack, throwing his acidic bomb at this bandit, I should say, right there. The reason I'm doing that is because the acidic bomb can do 1d10 points of damage to the space it lands, and then half of that to all the spaces around it. So once he starts coming in at us, I'm not going to really be able to make that an effective attack. Now, that doesn't mean I couldn't use something else, but I think this is my best chance to get a good use out of this potion. Exploding Bob's range skill is right here. It's 57, so we have to roll lower than a 57. Let's see how we do. We got a 25, which is going to be enough to hit that brigand. So we're going to do a D10 worth of damage here. I should say bandit leader. We're able to do 5 points of damage, and that's going to go straight through armor because it's an acidic bomb. Woo! We do have to remove the acidic bomb. We no longer have it, which is kind of sad. And not only that, I don't even get my empty potion bottle back because I threw it and smashed it all over this guy. But that's okay. He loved it. Before we deal the 5 damage, there is something I need to do about the setup for the bandit leader. When we set him up, I forgot about one thing. He does have a shield, so we do have to add this to him here. He also does come with 1 armor, and I believe that is going to be above his natural armor. So he actually has 2 armor. But as I said, according to what acid does, it ignores natural armor. So it's going to ignore the 2 that we have here. And of course, he also has a -10. So I do have -15. I should have remembered when I rolled, but we rolled a 25. So we're still, that's only going to bring us up 25, 35, 40. And we have a skill of 57. So we were totally fine. We still would have had it even with the minus to his roll. We are going to tick him down to 11. Acid, from the actual acid rules, say that they ignore natural armor. And since it's an acidic bomb, I'm going to go with it that it is doing acid damage. So that's why I'm going to ignore the natural armor. We'll be moving on to our next person. And again, like I said, if I'm not exactly right about the acid roll or any of the other rules I'm doing here, there are a ton of things going on. And if I do make a mistake, I'll make sure to put a comment in the comment section pinned with any errors. So if you're watching later, you can see post-launch. If you're not sure if I did something right, you can maybe check out and maybe find an answer there. So we're going to dig in here, see who's next. Oh, it's going to be one of our enemies. So I have to go through our enemy chart and see who's going to go next. We have it right here. It says magic users. We don't have any enemy adjacent to a hero that could make room for more enemies. We have an enemy adjacent to hero, enemy closest to a hero that could charge. Okay, right now that is going to be him. He is the closest enemy. Now the thing is, he can't charge from how I understand it, because charge, you need to be able to move at least up to 2 spaces. So he's not able to charge because he's only able to go 1 space towards the closest enemy. I decide to, oh no, it does say closest enemy that could charge. Technically, I guess he could charge him, but I think he's still going to go after the closest enemy. If I'm again wrong about that, you'll find out. And we have enemies that has enough movement space to move full movement, or random enemies. So he's going to be able to move up and attack. I know that. So he is going to move up and attack because we do have this other card. The 2 cards interact together pretty well, but I sometimes am a little confused as to how they fully act together. We're going to move into this card. It says if more than movement space away from a hero, move towards the closest hero. Because this one is really just figuring out which one you're going to activate. Once you figure out which one to activate, you move to this card. So next one says if within movement space of a hero but not adjacent, roll a d6. Okay, that is where we are. He is right there. He is not adjacent yet. So he's going to roll a d6 and see what he does. Let's roll it right here. I got a 4. So we're going to take a look and see what 4 is. It says move into close combat. So this is when he's going to move into close combat right up to here. He's going to be facing those guys. This is going to be awesome. Now, in this game, facing does matter. I didn't mention that. So you want to make sure you're always facing your opponent and not get attacked in the back. Now, of course, he has a special ability called backstab. So if he can get behind somebody, he gets to add 20 to his attack or combat skill, which is pretty sweet. And bring it up to like an 80 or something. It's out of control. Now it says if adjacent to a hero, make room for more enemies to attack if possible. Shove if necessary, only shove once per turn, then attack. He doesn't need to, there's got plenty of room there. Then it says it's going to, if adjacent, attack according to the table. So we're going to roll these 2 dice and see what happens. So I'm going to take 2 different dice. We're going to roll 2 different dice and see what we're going to do. We've got this one here and this one here. The white one will be the first column, the orange one will be the second column. And once you really get playing the game, not only could you roll these 2 together, you could also roll the attack and the damage, everything all at once, and figure out what happens. So we're going to roll this. This is going to be this part of the card, and this will be that part of the card. Let's roll them up, see what we get. We got a 4 and a 5, so we'll consult our 2 tables here. 4 is going to be this area here, and 5 is going to be a standard attack. So he's going to make a standard attack. Now he's used one of his actions to move. So the second one is going to be a standard attack against a random enemy because they're both right next to him. We'll make this 1 through 3. He's going to attack 4. He's going to attack the warrior priest. And he is actually facing the back of the warrior priest from how I understand it, because you have zone of control, I believe is what it's called, where it's just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces around your character. So the 3 behind it are not there. So that means he's actually attacking the back of my character. And how I understand it, he's going to get an extra 20% or 20 to his combat skill against it. Now he's got backstab, like I said, which not only, that's not what causes the 20 extra combat skill. He gets to ignore armor from the back when he attacks. Our bandit leader has a combat skill of 60, so that's going to be he's got a combat skill of 80, getting the extra 20 from behind. We'll see how this goes. This is probably going to be super bad. I don't think there's any way he's going to miss. No, he got a 34. That's plenty to hit. Now you can normally try to attempt to dodge or parry or something, especially in a parrying stance. But if he's not in your zone of control, then you don't get to do any of that. So I'm going to take 1d12 damage. I took 1. That's actually really good. Really good. 1 point of damage. That's totally fine. We're going to take that, and we have to see where it hits us. We're going to roll a d6, and there is a chart that tells us where this hits us. And when it does, it's going to do 1 point of damage to it. So we got a 2. Looking at the hit location, it's going to be to the arms. So now we have to go to our character sheet and see if we have the armor to withstand this. Lucky for us, we do have a padded jacket, so that is going to absorb up to 2 damage, so none of it came through. Now, if this were to do, let's say it did 4 damage, then the defense would stop 2 of it. I would take 2 damage, bringing my life total down to 12, and on top of that, it would cause another durability hit because it went above the defense threshold. Lucky for us, nothing really bad happened that turn. That could have been an absolutely devastating turn. The weapons that the characters or the enemies are using is no joke. Now, I did forget one thing. Again, there's a lot of things going on here. This does have +1 damage, so he did 2 damage, but that's still enough to be able to soak it up with our arms. So we're going to take our little handy-dandy bag here, grab our next token, and see who's going to attack. We get to actually do something that's fantastic. We'll have to choose who we're going to use. Now, this bandit leader does have a lot of armor, and I'm really actually hoping we can take this guy out. That's really my hope here, because I'm going to use my wizard here. This is kind of a scary maneuver to do, but he's going to move 1, 2, 3. Actually, could just move 1, 2, 3 like that, or 2, I should say. And this now is, he's going to cast the Finger of Death, or the Hand of Death, and see if we can get him with our spell. The Hand of Death, again, is a quick spell that's a touch that ignores armor and does 1d10 points of damage. So in order for this to work, we not only have to make the spell cast, and it has to successfully cast, but then we do have to do a combat skill attack against this bandit, but we get +20 to the roll because of how this works. Our mage's arcane skill is 69, so we need to get a 69 or lower in order to hit. We got a 60, so our spell does go off. Now we have to do a combat skill in order to get him. So we need to get a 41, but I get to add 20, so it's 61, and then subtract 15, so it's 46. We need a 46 or better. And we got a 46 exactly! Oh my gosh, that's actually bonkers out of control. Now, before we do all our damage, I do want to explain exactly how this all works. So we have our arcane skill of 69. In order to do this, we have to actually touch him. And so the way this works is because it is a quick and touch spell. First off, it's a quick spell, so it only costs 1 action point, which is why I'm able to move and then cast the spell. If this was a regular spell, it would have cost me 2 action points to cast, and I wouldn't have been able to move. Now, I did forget one thing. The casting value is something that is important. The casting value is 7, so that means I have to add 7 to the roll in order to, and then still get below this. Now, I got a 60, so 67 is still below 69, so I would have been just fine. That does mean that it does go off. And then I do have to pay the value value, which is down here for the spell. And you start with mana equal to the amount of your wisdom score. So 59 is the stat that he has. So let's subtract 8, we got 51. This 0 here is if this was a spell that could potentially have something that would continue to happen as the game progressed, you would have to pay mana every turn to keep that spell active. When you go to touch a character with a spell, you get to add 20 to the combat skill. That's the touch attack. You have to roll your combat skill plus 20. So that means I needed a 61. But our bandit leader does have -10 to hit, and he has that shield, which also gives him -5 to hit. So that's why it went down by 15, meaning that that 41 turns into a 46, which is exactly what we got. I can't believe it. That was awesome. So we did hit him with our Finger of Death. This is going to ignore armor, so let's see how much damage we do. Oh, we only did 2. Oh, that's so sad. So we'll lower the amount of damage from 11 to 9. He's taken 9 damage. That's no good. I want him to take a lot more than that, but oh well. Damage is damage. I'm okay. Now, like I said, we do have to subtract our mana points, and this game does come with a really cool dry erase board that you can use. It comes with it in the game, so we can just erase this 59 here and write in 51, and that's how many magic points we have left. I do want to mention one more thing about casting. If you ever get a 95 or more, that means you have miscast, and you're going to take sanity hits equal to D3. That's like a total massive magic failure. The other thing you can do is, if you notice, the casting value of that spell was 7, so it wasn't that tough to cast. But as we go forward, some of our spells are going to cost us a lot of casting value. But you can do things like focus, which will give you extra towards your arcane skill, making it easier to cast these more expensive spells. But also the miscast of it will also go up as well. So it makes it easier to cast them, but also has an easier chance to be detrimental towards your wizard. I'm really scared where my wizard is right now because there's a lot of black tokens in this bag that the enemies are going to activate with versus our white tokens, and I really need to help. Oh my gosh, we are just on fire. All right, we're going to go with another character, and that's going to be our thief here. Our rogue. He's going to be tricky. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and it does say you can move diagonal as long as you're moving past an ally, and you can't be moving in between 2 enemies. So he's going to move 2, 4 to right here, and you do have to you have to double your movement in order to be moving past people when they're enemies. So we're going to get right behind this guy so we can perform one of those back attacks. Kit does have a combat skill of 60, so all we have to do is roll lower than an 80% and we hit this guy. We got a 0-4. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So if you're able to hit between 0-1 and 0-5, that's like doing a super cool hit. And the way the super cool hits work is you get to roll your damage dice twice and add 1. So hopefully we can get this guy, and I get to keep whatever I roll. We can keep the one I low. Oh, I like that 6. Okay, that 6 is awesome. So we did 7 damage. And since he has the backstabber trait, which allows him to ignore natural armor and armor from his enemies when attacking from the back, that damage is going to go straight through. That is 7 straight damage. Oh, Kit, that was a super good hit. So much better than the Hand of Death, which sounds so much worse. We're going to move that 9 down to a 3, only 3 damage left on the bandit leader. Hopefully we can take him out this turn. I'm really hoping I can. He also is going to gain what is called a wounded token because he is at half health. So once you get to half health, you're going to gain a wounded token, which gives you -1 action points. So now this bandit leader, when he activates, is only going to be able to do one thing before his turn is over. With that turn complete, there's not too many tokens left in this bag that are white. So this is probably going to be, yep, here comes one of our enemies. We do have 2 different enemies. Let's take a look at the enemy activation card here. It says magic users, nope. Enemy adjacent, nope. Enemies adjacent to hero, nope. Enemy close to hero that could charge. This one is closest 1, 2, 3, 4. He can get up and attack this character here. But in order to charge, you have to go in a straight line. You either have to go completely diagonal or completely orthogonal. You cannot go in a zigzaggy pattern to get there. So he can't do that. So instead, we're going to go to our card, which is going to tell it to, if within movement space of the hero but not adjacent, roll a d6. So it's going to do that. Let's roll our d6 because it is within movement value. Let's see what it gets. It gets a 5. It is going to charge, attack the closest hero. And like I said, it can't charge. So it's just going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 if it can't abide by that rule. Next, we're going to roll our 2 dice, our white one and our orange one. Our orange one is going to be the second part of this card here, and the white one will be the first part of the card as my tile moves all over the place. All right, Let's roll these up and see what we get here. We got a 4 and a 3. So the 4 is going to be this part of the card, and the 3 is a standard attack. This guy will attack from the back, and notice it's from the back. So he's going to get an extra 20% to his combat skill, or 20 number plus 20, not 20%. So this guy does have a combat skill of 50, so it's actually 70, and he got a 77. The bandit missed. Oh, my rogue is super tricky. That bandit is done. There's only one bandit left and one hero left. Who gets to go? The hero gets to go. It probably didn't matter because he was just going to turn and attack this guy. And I'm going to try to attempt to make sure that my zone of control stays here. So when he comes in, and if he can get to me, then I'm not going to get attacked, or at least not from the back. We've seen too many back attacks in this attack, in this little round here. So we're going to attack there, hopefully take this guy out. We'll see how we can do. Not having to move gives me a little bit of a difference of what I could do. I do have some options here. I can either do a standard attack for 1 AP, or I can do a power attack for 2 AP. That's going to give me plus 20 towards my combat skill when I attack, though when the next turn comes around, enemies are going to get an extra 10 to their combat skill when attacking me. And there's probably going to be a couple that are attacking me, so I'm not sure if that's the best idea. I could shove the enemy. I could even go into a defensive stance if I want to, but I think what we are going to do is we are going to try a couple standard attacks. If I can just get one of those to stick, that would be fantastic. I have a combat skill of 50. Minus 15 brings it down to what, 35? Yeah, I don't like that. We are going to go for a power attack. I am going to give myself the extra 20, bringing my attack from 50 to 70. Minus 15 is going to bring it to 65, and that's a way better number for me to hit. And I got a 46, so I'm super glad that I did it that way. So I got a 46 that is going to do D8 points of damage plus 2 with my broadsword. Let's see how this goes. I got a 6 plus 2 is 8 points of damage. He has 2 natural armor, so he's going to subtract the 2, so he's only going to take 6 damage, but guess what? That's enough to take out the captain. Yes! Oh my gosh, my team is amazing. Sorry, Mr. Captain, your game is now over, so I'm going to tip him over right there. We can loot his body at the end of combat, and I'll show you how all that's going to work then. We'll remove his card and everything. He is no longer part of the battle, and he can't come back up unless there's something that an enemy has that could do it, and these bandits don't have that. Now, these aren't bandits that fleeing when their captain dies. They're going to still go after us. So the last person to act, I'm not even going to pull a chip. He's the only one that hasn't acted. So again, if we look at the card, it'll show that he is the enemy that has enough space to move to its full movement. That's not going to, so we're just going to move some with their full movement, and that's him. So the full movement for these guys is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now notice that wasn't enough to get to him, but that's okay. For the second action, he can use half his movement to get up next to us. So now he is right next to our warrior priest. One thing I forgot to do if I wanted to is for 1 power point, or energy point, I could have used a battle prayer as a free action. It's free to use battle prayers. So if I wanted to, I could have used one of them and been able to either A, use it on myself to be able to heal 1 every round, or B, the other one I have is something that gives plus 10 to our mage. Our mage will get plus 10 to its arcane skill, bringing its skill to 79. Or sorry, 79, absolutely out of control. So, but I did forget to do that, and actually now I think about it, I don't think I'm too worried about it. I think we're going to keep it as is, but if he maybe takes some damage, I might switch to his battle prayer. And just like a lot of other things in the game, if I wanted to use a battle prayer, I would have to roll below his wisdom in order to make it happen. I shouldn't say wisdom, I'm sorry, the battle prayer skill that uses wisdom. Moving into the next turn, we're going to gather up all the chips we need for this round. There are only 3 of the bandits left and 4 of our characters, and since it's not the first turn anymore, they don't get the plus 2, and we don't get that keen hearing anymore from how I understand it. Also, if you're not in a skirmish, you're actually in a dungeon, at this point you would be rolling an event die that could potentially have something happen to you during combat, which is kind of cool. But we don't have that out here, but you will see that as we go dungeon delving for sure. So we're going to grab all of our tokens, stick them in our handy little bag here, and then we're going to give it a good old shake and draw a token out of there and see who's going to be our first one to activate here. We'll grab this one right here. Oh, it's one of our bandits. Oh no, we'll have to see what we can do. We're going to have our ranged attacker attack first. Now remember, his bow is unloaded, so let's look at his card here. It says If he's within 2 spaces, he's going to move away. He is not. He is then going to reload his missile weapon. So for one action, he's going to reload his missile weapon. It is now loaded and ready for go. I guess you could say it's loaded for bear. It does say he can move up to M spaces to get in position. He doesn't have to. He then is going to attack with his second action. So we're going to roll to see what happens. We're going to roll our 2d6s here. Now, of course, the orange one is this part of the card, and the white one, again, is that part of the card. So roll these 2 up and see what he does. He does 2 and 2. So the first one is going to be this here, and the second one is going to be aim. No need to determine the target of this at this point. So he's going to gain an aim token, which is going to mean his next attack is going to be even more deadly. So for the time being, I'm going to put this little token there to remind myself that he is aiming. Also, one thing I need to do is there's a lot of these little things, these little tokens here that I have to remember to use. For example, our power attack, I'm going to place this right here to next to this character, at least kind of on there. There we go, like that. Just to remind myself to use the power attack to remind, so that I know that if anybody attacks them, they get that plus 10. That is the bandit's turn. It is now time to decide which player is going to go next. We'll shake up our little bag here and draw a token. It is going to be us. That's fantastic. I wonder if I should just turn around and hit this guy. Actually, I think I'm going to use the rogue. The rogue is just going to turn and attack here. You can always turn to face. That is a free action, or it's free during your turn. You can choose your stance however you want to. You're facing. That's totally fine. I'm going to face this guy and attack him because I don't want him to attack me from the back anymore. That was absolutely sad news. So we're going to hit this guy with our rogue. It'd be nice to be able to gang up again on one, but now they're starting to close in. We got lucky that he started so close to us, and I'm now a little worried about this guy now with his aim token. Kit is just going to do a regular attack, and he's going to go twice. Hopefully that'll be enough. He's got a 60, and our bandit does give us -5, so we're going to hopefully try to take this guy out. I need a 55 in order to hit him. I got a 25. That's enough to hit. So we're going to do D6 plus 1. Let's see how we do. We got 4 plus 1 is 5. This person has no natural armor, so he's going to take 5. He's going to be the red die. He's going to take 5, so he's going to go from 12 to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, I can do math. And now we're going to roll our second attack and see how we do. We got a 0-7. Sadly, it wasn't a 0-5. That'd been really sweet, but it's still enough to do some damage. Oh, look at that. Oh, we got 7. That's exactly what we needed. Oh my gosh, this guy is a Murder City guy. I love this. He is like just murdering people. This is awesome. So he took this bandit out by himself. Oh my gosh, that guy is dead. We'll flip our character over just like this. That one is also dead. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I can't believe he did that. We're going to roll, take our thing and shake it up and see what we get for our next person to activate here. We're going to draw a token out of the bag, and we have another one that is black. So that's going to be this guy to activate. Now we do know there is another black token in there, and this is now considered technically a dead token because the person that would have been activated with it is technically dead. Wow, I called it a dead token. There's a dead guy on the ground. Wow, I didn't even try for that one. That was awesome. All right, he is going to attack here though, but he's going to get plus 10 to his combat skill. And actually, we don't know if he's going to attack him. We're going to have to check to see according to what his card is. It says here, if you're adjacent, attack according to the table. So we have to see what he does according to this table. It's all about tables in this game. There's a lot of them. So again, we're going to use the same 2 dice and roll them up here. We got a 52. So the 5 down here says that use the skill or special talent. If they don't have one, he is going to attack. And that is what he's going to do. He is going to attack. He does not have a special skill. But let's see what his second action is going to be. His second action is going to be a 1-4, which is, I think, just going to be another attack. So he is going to attack twice. Now, he could have gone like into a parry stance on the second action if he wanted to. But now, say you roll the first one, and he's got 2 actions, and he rolled the parry stance first. You would do the parry stance, but you would automatically do an attack. If an enemy is not just going to go into parry stance and call it a day. They would attack first, then parry. But that didn't happen. He has 2 attacks, but I just wanted to tell you if that situation arises, what you should do. This bandit does get plus 10 to his combat skill because I try to do a power attack. So he has a 60, and I cannot parry or dodge this. He got a 13, so he does hit. He is going to do D6 plus 2 points of damage with that short sword. Oh, this short sword is pretty deadly. He did 5, 6, 7 damage. Now let's see where he hit me. We're We're going to roll a d6 and consult our table. We got a 4. That is going to hit me right in the torso. We do have a padded jacket that is going to be able to hold up on 2 defense. So we're not taking 7, we're only going to take 5. But since that does penetrate the actual defense, the armor, we are going to lose 1 durability. And we're going to go down from 14. What are we going to take? We're going to take 5 points damage. So we're going to go down to 9 hit points. So Rock is going to remove the 10 and the 4 here to make 14. Instead, we're going to be sitting at 9. Well, we're about as good as Kit right now, but that's okay. The one at the most hit points is the one that got hit, so I'm not too worried. Now, there is another attack coming at him. To give you an idea of how you can do this all at one time, I'm going to roll every die I have. And this is going to be where, this is going to be the damage of the weapon. This will be where it hits me, and that's going to be the actual roll for it. And let's see how this all goes. He got an 86, so he did miss, so the other dice are not going to matter. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he missed. But if he would have hit, he would have done, we have already known where it would have hit me and how much damage it would have done. Another 7 points of damage, and that would have been the arms. Oh my gosh, that would have been absolutely devastating. There's only white tokens technically left in the bag, so that means I can pretty much start activating my guys however I want to. We're going to start with the wizard. He's going to cast Flare. He's got his Flare spell. It says a bright flare shoots from the caster's hand, hissing through the air to strike the target with a large bang. The damage is 1d8. It is a quick spell, and it's a magic missile spell. We've already talked about that a quick spell is only 1 action, but a magic missile spell is a spell that needs line of sight but doesn't need a 2-hit roll. It automatically hits and doesn't have to deal with any type of cover bonus or anything. So technically all I have to do is make my casting value. If we look at our flare here, it does have a casting value of 8. So I will be adding 8 to this roll. Hopefully we are able to cast it. We got a 31 plus 8 is 39. The spell is going to do d8 points of damage. So we'll roll a d8 and see how we do here. We got 6. That was awesome. So we're going to lower that guy with the short bow's damage down to 6. He's now at 6 health. We'll put it just right there. And that also is going to make him wounded because he is now at half health. That is going to cost us 15 magic points, which means we're down a few, but that's okay. Since it's a quick spell, I can cast it again. So I'm going to cast the spell again. I need, again, that 69. Let's see how we do. We got a 42. That's awesome. We're going to roll our d8 here and see how we do. We got 8. Oh, again, my guys are, yes, my guys are just bonkers good. So that's enough to kill this guy. He's totally dead. And this is going to cost me a total of 30 mana points. 15 plus 15 is 30, so we're going to go down to 21 mana points left. And I do want to mention, it didn't happen, and I don't, it never happens, but if you do fail to cast your spell, it does cost you mana points, but it's going to cost you mana equal to half the amount of it rounded down. So if it, say for example, this one did fail, I would have to lose 7 mana points instead of the 15 when I cast it. Too bad you didn't fire at me. Instead, you just aimed. You're aiming your bow, and instead you got hit with 2 huge giant magic missiles, and that's the end of you. It is going to be our turn. We have 2 more characters left to go, and that's our alchemist and our warrior priest. Our alchemist is going to move 1, 2, 3 to here. Actually, maybe he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 behind him and get that +2 to 20 to his combat skill. This guy's going to turn and attack. So I'm just going to do all of this at once. These guys are all going to attack. And if I don't kill this guy with these people, I'm then going to use my battle prayer with that one to try to start healing him. We are going to start with Exploding Bob. Sadly, he's got a 42, but that goes to a 62. Then we have to add 5 to this roll because that's the combat or the 2 hit from the bandit. And he got a 34 plus 5 is 39, which is still going to hit. He is using a short sword, so that is a d6 plus 2. He did 3. He did 3 points damage. Well, that's better than nothing. He's going to go down to 9. That's the end of Bob because his first action was to move. Before we go too much farther, one thing I did forget is this revenge power that the wizard has. This is our wizard's power. He should have gotten +5 combat skill when attacking trying to hit with a combat attack against a bandit. So when I did my Hand of Death, I should have gotten +5, and I would have gotten -5 if they would have been trying to attack me. But I do get 250 extra experience for every 5 dead ones from my killing blow. So I'm going to put a 1 here because he did kill that 1. All right, now it's Rock's turn, and I'm not going to do a power attack. I'm just going to attack with my 50 minus 5 is 45. I got a 14. That does hit. I'm going to do D8. Oh, he does D8 with that broadsword. So good. He did a 3 plus 2 is 5, so he's going to be able, he did 5. Oh, actually, now I think about it, I don't think I can use his buckler. This is something I totally have missed. I'm not allowed to use the buckler because I have to use class 3 weapons with 2 hands. So this buckler, I'm not even able to hold this buckler right now. But that's okay. It hasn't come into play for this game at all. But I do have to remember I can't use this. I can't carry this and use this. The way it works is because of the class of the weapon. I have to have more strength in order to be able to hold the broadsword with one hand. I'm actually attacking with two hands right now. So we're going to drop him down another 3, going to 6. That is going to put him at half health. So now our poor bandit is going to be wounded. He's now a wounded bandit. I get one more attack. Let's see how we do. I apologize for this, but hopefully you understand how that works. And I've got a 63. I did not hit with that one. So at this point, I am going to use my battle prayer, which means I am going to use my energy point to use the battle prayer. You can only use a battle prayer by spending an energy point, and now I have to get my prayer up. Now I have 2 prayers, like I've said before. I've got the one that is going to allow me to regain 1 lost hit point at the start of my activation for the rest of the battle, or I can give my arcane wizard an extra 10 arcane arts. I'm going to give myself the extra hit point. Hopefully this doesn't play into effect, but hopefully we'll see how it goes. He's the only one that's wounded. I need to get a 55 in order for this to go off. I got a 35, so my battle prayer is in effect. So I'm just going to place it right here on my card to know my card right on there to know that it is going on. And that's the end of this round. And I am going to remove this token from the board where my character was. We have caused a lot of carnage, and we're going to take 4 of our chips and 1 of theirs, dump them in our bag, give it a shake, and see who goes. I hope I go. That's what I want to do. I do get to go. I get to go first. Let's see what we're going to do. I would like to activate our wizard, but I do want to talk a little bit about line of sight that I didn't really mention when making this attack. Line of sight is done by drawing the center of by drawing a line from the center of your square to the center of your target square. If it passes through anything in the board, not the actual square of the board, but the art on the tile that would obstruct it, that's a -10 penalty to the attack. Now, of course, mine didn't because it says that didn't happen. The other interesting thing about line of sight is if you're shooting through a square of your characters are with, it also is another -10 to try to get through them. And the last thing that's interesting about this, if it is a direct line like it is right here, you can't fire through your friend because you're directly behind him. Now, if the wizard was off to the side here, he'd be able to have line of sight on that because he's not at a direct angle here. Now, of course, a direct angle would also affect line of sight in this direction. Just want everybody to be clear about that. I hope that is right, but that's how I understand it. So from where he is, he can't really attack him how I want to. So our priest is going to move over here by paying 2 movement points and attacking from there. And since he activated, he is going to gain, oh, I put the wrong card up there. He's going to gain +1 hit points. That's the card I meant to use. I'm going to gain 1 of my hit points back, so I'm at 10 hit points with Rock, and he's going to make his attack. He's got a combat skill of, I think it's 47 back here, 45, so it's 50. But I get to subtract 5, so it's actually at 45. Let's see how we do. I did hit. I get to do D8 plus 2. Let's see how we do. I got 3 points of damage. He is down to 3 health, which is going to be perfect to set him up, hopefully, for that wizard to kill him and get an extra little tick towards his bonus. That's the end of our priest's turn. Let's go to our next set of tokens here and see who goes next. Hopefully, he doesn't go. That'd be absolutely the biggest kicker in the pantsers, wouldn't it? Let's see what we got. It's going to be our turn again. So our wizard is going to attack. This is going to be awesome. So we're going to use our wizard to try to take this guy out. Our wizard is going to use his flare spell, and he's going to roll to see if he's able to do it with his arcane dice. And he needs a 69, I believe is what he needs. Let's see here. He needs a 69 to see if he casts the spell. He got a 56. And again, I could have rolled all these together. I could have rolled that one right with it. So even if I would have missed, I would have still had the damage roll out there. It does encourage you to roll all the dice for whatever action you're doing at one time so that you can take care of it. That does cost me 15 magic points, bringing my magic points down to like 6 or something, but that's okay. This guy's dead. I get to put another tick towards my background of getting hopefully another extra 250 points. Hopefully we'll fight some more bandits down the line. Defeating the enemies, it doesn't matter who does the killing blows or anything like that. You all are going to reap the rewards when it comes to the experience points. So we killed 3 bandits with 90 experience. That's going to be 270 each. Plus we did kill a bandit leader with 130. So 270, 370, 400. All of our characters gain 400 experience points. We don't level up until I believe we hit 1,000 experience points, but we're almost halfway there just having defeated some bandits. That's awesome. When it comes to looting, and it's going to be this way in the dungeon as well, there are are two different ways you can do it. One of them was what they consider hardcore mode, where you have to actually use your action points to loot all the different bodies out on the tile. But there's also kind of a streamline mode, which is the mode we're going to be using, where you're just going to roll for all the people out there, and then you're going to divide up whatever you get amongst how your characters however you see fit. When it comes to different terrain pieces in the dungeon, you're going to roll individually based on who is standing next to, for example, the bookcase over here, or the bed over here. The wizard would roll, or the warrior priest would roll over there. So there are different rules for the actual terrain and furniture, but when it comes to the actual enemies here, we're just going to roll on the tables and divide it amongst ourselves. Now, if we look at this, each one of our bandits is going to let us roll on table T1, but the bandit leader is going to roll on T2. So let's check that out. Here are some examples of the different treasure types. I'm just going to leave a couple other ones out there so you can take a look at them. And right here, it does talk about the looting corpses here, hardcore mode versus streamline mode. Like I said, we're doing streamline. So first off, we get 3 of the T1, so I'm just going to roll 3 different D10s for those. And the dice that I'm using are all kind of my own dice. I've got a whole ton of dice. I play Dungeons & Dragons, so role players, they've got tons of dice. So I'm going to roll these all up, see what we get. We got a double 1s and a 7. So 7 is scrap, nothing but scrap. We're going to get rid of that one. But these are both going to be a random weapon. That's awesome. Now let's see what T2 has for us. It got a 6. Oh, nothing but scrap. That's too bad. So we're going to get 2 random weapons. I'm going to roll 2D12 and see what we get. If we go past this net down here, we'll re-roll. And I'm not counting the arrows or bolts as weapons we can gain. So let's see what we get. We got an 11 plus 3 is 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We found a war hammer. And the other one we find is going to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We found a longsword. So a longsword and a war hammer. And interestingly enough, I don't think any of us can use these because they're class 5 and class 4, but we could sell the warhammer for 200 and the longsword for 100, depending on what its condition is in. I'm going to give them a durability hit too. Our longsword is going to have a durability hit of 4, and our warhammer is going to have a durability hit of 1. While you're in town, you do have the ability to sell and repair items, which is really cool, and I like the way they did it because depending on how damaged the weapon is, it costs more to either repair or to sell. So, for example, if we decided to sell that longsword, notice it's 100 to sell it, but since it's taken 4 durability hit, it's only going to be worth 30 coins, which is still better than a sharp stick in the eye, which is what that thing's probably going to do to us if we don't sell it. The other one is that warhammer, which is worth 200, and that one only has a 1 durability hit, so it's going to be able to get us 120 coins, which is going to be pretty good. Having defeated the bandits, we're going to go to our aftermath. It says, with the bandits dead, the party decides to gather their gear and continue their travel. They arrive at the settlement without further issue. Head to the settlement chapter and start by rolling for a settlement event. Then decide where this adventure will take your heroes. So let's see what settlement our brave adventurers are outside of before we got so rudely interrupted by a bunch of, bandits. We are outside Freyfell. Here's the huge map of League of Dungeoneers. There are many different settlements out here, and the Silver City is in the middle, which is kind of the major city. Freyfell is right here, so we're going to put our character marker that they have provided, which is this one right here. I'm going to place it right here. Now, is that the marker you have to use? No, you can use whatever you want. You could use a cube, you could use one of your characters, you could use anything you want. But we have this, so we're going to put this right here. A few things I want to point out on this map before we go to our city phase is if you notice the color here in Freyfell is pink. If you notice the color over here in, Irondale, is kind of a light blue. So you're going to notice different places out on the map, and when quests are associated with certain towns, you're going to see the numbers of them on these different places here. So for example, if it told me that my next quest would be a random area outside of Freyfell, I would roll, and based on what number I would be where that quest would be taking place, which is pretty cool. So it's always going to have like a different atmosphere and a different place of where you're going to go. It's not just a set path when you play this game. As our quest instructed, we have found our settlement, which is going to be Freyfell, and it does say that we're supposed to roll on the settlement table to see if we have an event. So we're going to grab our D12 and roll it up right here and see if we get an 11 or 12. We're going to have an event. Let's see if we can get it right in the little shot here. It's probably not going to happen because D12 is going to, oh, we got a 12. What do you know? Something's going to actually happen. So we'll have to roll on the table and see what happens. Before we do that, I do want to mention this card right here. This is our humanoid with missile weapon. happen. One thing I missed on the card that I want to bring to your attention, and I did probably put a subtitle in the video, is right down here, after it decided to make its attack, it does have to choose a target. The close combat characters do not seem to do that. Down here it just says that they will always avoid traps and climb objects, where this one I should have rolled another d6 to see which person it would have attacked, either the closest or the easiest to hit. In our book there is a table here that then tells us what is going to happen in our settlement. So we're going to roll a d10 and see what we get, or d12, sorry, and see what we get. This thing just keeps rolling around. We have 3. So it does say that we have a potion salesman in town. A man clad in a purple robe informs the party that he sells premium potions. Use the potion table with an availability of 4 for every potion regardless of class. And we're going to remove 20 coins from the price modifier. This might be really good, especially since we have a alchemist with us. He might be able to buy back a couple potions that we will be able to use in our next quest, especially maybe that what do you call it, corrosive one, or the acidic potion. That's the one we threw. Every settlement you go to is going to have a few different things that you can do, and they're all going to be different. Of course, if you're going to the main city, Silver Town or Silver City, sorry, that is going to have everything available to you. But for example, we're in Freyrafell, but I put Kale Kirk over here so you can see the difference in what some of the services are available. For example, we get the arena and the blacksmith, and there's a blacksmith over here, but you notice the availability is different than ours. We do have a general store, which is also has a little bit different availability than Kale Kirk, and Kale Kirk doesn't have an arena, and the inn is a little bit different as well. We have to only pay 25 to stay here, where they have 35, and the sick ward is also available if we wish to do that. And now let's take a look quickly at what these different services mean and how much time it takes you to do these. Here's all the different things you could do in a town. Now, of course, we don't have access to all of these, but just to show you how many there possibly are that you can do. Some of these are going to cost you action points, some of these are not. And then actually you get 1 activity point a day in the town, and at the end of that day you do have to stay at the inn, so that's going to cost you money every time you try to do something here. So what you want to do is figure out what you want to do, and then make sure you send everybody you need to into different places to make sure it all gets done. For example, say we want to send somebody to the arena, we could do that while somebody else goes to sell that equipment. 2 people go sell the equipment at the general store, for example, or the blacksmith. We have those 2 weapons, we could send a couple people there, and the other person could, for example, go to cure poison because there's a sick ward. We could send them all out on different things, or everybody could go together to one place if they want. Once that's done, you can do any of these zeros ones, but they do, of course, this one says stay at an inn. This one requires at an inn, rest and recoup, and tend to those memories. So there are different things you can do, and some are going to cost you more than 1 activity point. So to learn a new spell, we'd have to be at the Wizards Guild and spend 3 activity points. So we'd actually have to stay there for 3 days in order to do that, of course paying those 3 days at the inn. So let's take a look at what we think we need to do and decide. I think the only thing we really need to do is we need to buy or sell equipment and our stuff. That's in our things at blacksmith, or that would be absolutely the best thing I think we need to do. So I don't think there's really much more we can do. So we're going to send a couple people to sell the weapons we have, and the other people I think are going to go buy stuff at the general store. So we're going to pool up some of our money, and then we're going to go sell some stuff and buy some stuff. Now, of course, we can't use the stuff we're selling at the blacksmith because that would be a whole nother day if we wanted to do that. And it costs 25 coins to stay at that inn. But the good news is we can sell and buy absolutely anything we need at the general store because we are going to make money at that blacksmith. We could, of course, do the arena if we wanted to, but I don't think I want to do that. I don't think our characters are built to fight in an arena. We did do really well against the bandits, so maybe we are pretty good at the arena, but I don't think I want to take my chances. Here's our selling and repairing items table that I showed you earlier. One thing I failed to mention is this last column here. This you can use to repair your items based on what they are valued at. So if we had, for example, say we had that hammer that was worth 200. If we want to repair it back to full, it cost us 40, but we're trying to sell it. We're going to sell it for 120, and then we have that sword that we can sell for 30. So we're going to get a total of 130 back. Is that we're getting 150 coins back. So we're going to send those 2 to sell those items, and the rest of us are going to go to the store. So that's going to leave I think a total of 40 gold that we can spend at the store. Of course, we have 50, but remember, I think it's our halfling can't go below 10 based on his background. One thing I didn't mention is the League of Dungeoneers does come with a quick reference compendium that actually has a whole bunch of the different things you need to worry about in just one binder. For example, here was all the stuff on the settlement that you saw in the book, and over here we do have equipment for armor and weapons and things. We wanted to buy those. We go to the blacksmith. Here, right here, this is the general store. This is where we're going to go to buy general store. Now, this isn't everything. There is another page as well that has stuff for the general store, and it has the availability as well. Remember, the availability is all +1 in this, and also in this town, the price for everything is 10% less. So we might be able to get some real deals here. Some things I think we're looking for is I want to make sure we leave here with some food and some light when we go into the next dungeon. I think that's our best bet. So we're going to get some rations, which are going to be right down here. They're going to cost encumbrance of 1, and they have a durability of 1, and they cost 5. So I'm going to add up everything we buy, and then I'll divide it by 10%, so that way I can figure it out that way. Now remember, we only have a total of 40 that we can use. So here's 5 each. Wow, that's not going to last us very long. Oh my gosh. It's only going to sustain for 1 day. But I think we need to get 4 of those. So that's going to be 20. So we're going to take that. We're going to get 20 there. And then I have only enough, I think, for maybe a torch, because our lantern's 100. That's out of control. How much are our torches? Our torches are going to be 15. So that'll be good. We'll get the rations for 20 and the torch for 15. That'll bring a total of 35. Oh, with that background for our halfling, he has to have at least 10 gold at all times. That's too bad. He can't drop below 10. So I actually can't buy the torch and all that food. Okay, so the bad thing about not having food is it's going to lower your constitution and your resolve when it comes to, like, I believe it's resolve, but I know your constitution drops and you're going to be more susceptible to disease and things like that. I think I'm going to have to suffer with that. If you don't have a torch, your torch is going to help strengthen the party's resolve in the dungeons, and that way we don't have to deal with, we'll have a better chance of dealing with fear, and our party morale will stay up, hopefully. So I think we are just going to go with a torch, maybe a couple of those rations. I know I'm not getting a full set of rations. I really want a disarming kit, but I don't have enough for that. So we're not going to be able to get that. The rations are going to be, how much was it? 5 coins for 1. That's out of control. Really? That seems like a lot. Now, of course, we do have to roll on the availability chart, check and see if it's there. So we're going to roll a d6, and I need to get a 5 or less to see if it's there. They are there, so we can buy them at, I can't believe they're 5. I just thought of something that is a little bit kind of weird. I decided, remember, I couldn't use that shield. I would have never bought that shield. We're going to be able to get what we want. The shield itself, where was it? It was, oh, right here, the buckler. It was 20, so there's 20 right there. So we are going to be able to get out of here with everybody having a ration and a torch, and having 1 torch. And I think we're going to be just fine with that. That's going to cost us, like I said, 35. Whew, forgot about that shield we didn't need. I totally screwed up and bought that, and I shouldn't have. So there we go. That's going to cost us 35. We're going to be fine. We're going to stay at the inn for 25, and then we're going to go into our next mission going forward. Now, if you came back and were supposed to get rewards from the town, that would automatically happen on your first day if you wanted it to. It's a free thing to be able to do. Now, when we do stay at the inn, you are able to heal all of your magic points, get all of your energy points, and then you roll 2d6 to see how much you're able to heal at the inn. Now, I believe there's only 1 person that's hurt in our party, and that is our poor warrior priest. So he's going to roll 2d6 and see how much he's able to heal. Hopefully it's quite a bit. He got 7. I believe that's more than he was missing. So everybody's going to be at full strength going forward into the next mission. And we're going to see how that plays out. But we're going to do that in the next video. The next video, we'll be moving into our next mission in this campaign that we have that we're going to be playing through. This is going to be super fun. We are over here in Freyfell, and one thing I did want to mention before I close out the video is going across the land here, you're going to be moving your little token across this, and it's going to be, can only move a certain amount of squares based on the party's movement. I think you get a total of 3 moving across here, and you can only move 2 across here, and if you have a horse, you can go quite a bit. On top of that, every time you move and finish, you do have to use one of those rations, or you can try to forage. And if you are successful at foraging, that'll be your food for the day. Now, I believe you have to choose which one you want to do before you actually decide on making the roll or not. If you fail, I believe you are going to go hungry that day. There are also some decks of cards that are going to have to do with travel events. As you're moving through the land, you're going to roll to see if you encounter one of these events. For example, if we're in the wilderness, we might have bugs, and we might have to deal with these bugs. This doesn't sound good. I hate bugs. I'm definitely afraid of anything with more than 4 legs. Really? I picked a bug card? So you'd randomize which character was bit, and you make the Constitution modifier, and if it fails, you'll become diseased. And remember, if you didn't have any rations, and your Constitution would be lower and potentially be more prone to those diseases. So like I said, we only have 1 ration, but the good news is our mission is actually going to be right in this town, so I'm not too worried about only having 1 ration for each of our characters. So there you have it. That was just a quick taste of League of Dungeoneers. Like I said, we'll be moving forward into the next video, but if you're seeing this on the One Stop Co-op Shop, that video will be shown over on Meet Me at the Table, so please go check out my channel and you can see the rest of this epic campaign play out. I'm hoping to get pretty far into this and see how this all plays out so people can get a good idea of not only how the game plays, but also when you go into leveling your characters, and we'll even be able to go down into Silver City and you can see how that whole place pans out itself. This is going to be super fun. I'm excited to continue this adventure. Now, of course, if I didn't want to do the campaign adventure, I could roll and try to get a side quest if I wanted to, where I could go to one of these places near Fayetteville and try to decide what is happening there, and we can try to take on whatever evil is in this land and try to stop it. It is kind of cool that the whole campaign isn't one big campaign. There's a lot of mini campaigns in here, so you can kind of experience what you want to in this game. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough of League of Dungeoneers. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when more playthroughs come out. Also, please feel free to leave anything in the comments below. I would love to hear from everyone. Have you had a chance to try this game? Are you super excited to get this game? I would love to hear what you have to say. At Meet Me at the Table, some of the other things we do is we do live playthroughs with Colin every Monday, and I also do a live painting session that I try to do at least once a week with the community. So please feel free to check out those as well over on Meet Me at the Table. Again, thank you so much for watching, and if you're excited to see more League of Dungeoneers or anything else, then I need you to meet me at the table.